to our very final show for the first season of 40 Weeks and More. My name is Edem Knight-Tay. It's been very great coming your way with 40 Weeks and More. How does it feel like to be pregnant for almost 40 weeks? Go into labor for about 3 days and then go on to have an emergency cesarean session, and then you go home without your baby. Serwah will share her story with us today on 40 Weeks and More. Don't go anywhere. A very big thank you to Ernest Chemist Limited, to Ship Healthcare Specialist Medical Center, and also to Labadi Beach Hotel. They bring you 40 Weeks and More. We are also grateful to Deco Zone, to Aruluri, to The Better Merchandise, and Lunch Avenue. Thank you all for the immense support you have given 40 Weeks and More so far. Today on the show, we are talking about stillbirth as a subject. How a woman will carry her baby to almost term, 38 weeks, 40 weeks. You know that baby is here, especially so when you probably didn't have, challenges along the line, and you know that you're going to deliver your baby and bring baby back home, and then you come home without baby. We will get into the details of that, but meet my guest.
Hello, my name is Serwaa Boateng Gbene. This week on 40 Weeks and More, I am sharing my story on stillbirth.
Sometimes a woman carries a pregnancy and delivers at stillbirth. Why does that happen? This week on 40 Weeks and More, we're talking stillbirth.
Hello, Dr. Promise Sefogah.
Yes, ma'am.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, and
It's been good having you on 40 Weeks and More. Mommy Serwah, Mrs. Serwaa Gbene, you're welcome to 40 Weeks and More.
Thank you.
So you look amazing.
Thank you.
Great. Today on 40 Weeks and More, as you're well aware, we're talking about stillbirth. Okay, but before we get to that point, tell us about your journey with the pregnancy. How long after marriage did you get pregnant?
We got married in 2005, and these days, career women, we have to work to support their top money. So we worked a bit, and then in 2007, I got pregnant.
Okay, so 2 years after.
Yes.
Did you struggle before the pregnancy came?
Oh, not really, because when we got married, I was in UK, so we were not staying together.
Okay.
So it's when I moved in towards the end of 2006.
Okay.
And then we moved, my husband was working at Ifeanyi Kwanta, and then he moved to Takwa. So it was like, that was when we were trying to stay together, trying to settle down, and then I got pregnant. So
beautiful. Tell me, how did you feel when you realized that, yay, it was there?
You know that thing where when you're drawing your life goals, it's like, oh, okay, by 30 days, so, and we always said that if we're to have children, we would have 2 children. So at that time, at least I've been home for a while, and we had stayed together long enough to get used to each other's annoying behaviors. So it was exciting, it's just one of those days where you missed your period, day 1, day 2, day 3, and it's like, okay, we're going to be parents. So then you are in a whole different mood, and
you went to the hospital to check everything, and
yes.
You were pregnant.
Yeah.
Now, great. Congratulations so far. But then, did you have any known conditions ahead of the pregnancy, like hypertension, diabetes, or anything?
Ahead of the pregnancy, no. The challenge I have is with iron deficiency.
That's even before getting pregnant?
Yes, that's before. So I suffer from iron deficiency, anemia. And then I know that I have painful periods,
okay,
you know, and heavy bleeding. So, but then, you know how the African way, you just grow up with it and then get along. So I didn't really do any investigation to find out if there were any other causes before I got pregnant.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, did it become any worse after the pregnancy?
I think a few weeks, about maybe 6-7 weeks thereabout, before my second month, I started spotting.
Okay.
So I think I was giving some is it estrogen or some, yeah, one of those hormones injection to deal with the spotting. But we did scans and the pregnancy was intact. So there wasn't anything to worry about.
Okay.
So, and then I think one early scan also, the sonographer mentioned that he could see a fibroid around the cervix area. But I mean, I was pregnant then, so it wasn't something that we paid attention to, not really.
Okay, but the doctor saw the scans and realized there was a fibroid?
Yes.
But he made no issue of it?
Well, they said it was not in the way, I mean, as at that time, so nobody really paid attention to anything.
But then again, you're saying that your anemia didn't get any worse from when you got pregnant, apart from the spotting that you were given injections to stop. The anemia didn't get any worse?
Oh, the anemia, it was worse.
Tell us about it.
I mean, my HB ranges between 8 and 10.
I mean, normally?
When I'm pregnant.
Okay.
Normally, it's around 10. If on my good days, maybe 11.
Okay, but that should be good.
So during the pregnancy, I have to be, I mean, I was on like iron treatments to make sure that at least my HB. So that one, everything that they had to do to give me, you know, make sure that my iron was at a good level. So that was a regular feature. They had to monitor my iron levels and give me supplements to try and keep me within
So I'll
range.
come back to you, Doc. So you have HB between 6 and 8 in pregnancy, and this is quite consistent. What's the concern?
So, I mean, HB is the hemoglobin in your blood.
Yes.
You need a good level, preferably 11.5 and above. Then we are certain that when you breathe in oxygen, your hemoglobin gets enough oxygen to carry around all parts of your body, including for the pregnant woman to the baby, because the baby depends on you. So if it is that low, already during pregnancy, everybody gets a bit of dilution of your blood. We call it hemodilution when you're pregnant. You know, you're pregnant, you retain a bit more of fluid, and that dilutes your blood. So no matter how your HB was, there's going to be a drop anyway. So if it was already dropped, it goes further low, and then that can affect the baby, particularly the growth and the size of the baby. And it makes the mother prone to infections. If it does not get corrected and you go into labor, every delivery comes with a bit of bleeding. So if your blood level is already too low and you lose a little bit after delivery, then it becomes a major complication that will set us running and trying to find help.
Okay, but does it also affect the blood levels or whatever it is of the baby if the mother is
it has a tendency to,
to affect the baby as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. So what's done within that period?
So we check. We need to know, that's why when you come for your first pregnancy visit, we check a full blood count to see where your hemoglobin level is. And then we start correcting it. If it is normal, we just give the iron supplements a low dose to maintain it. If it's too low, we have to investigate to see why it is low. Could it be an infection? Could it be due to worms? Could it be malaria? Could it be due to undiagnosed sickle cell disease? we find the cause and we deal with the cause, as well as dealing with the levels to keep it better, to ensure adequate growth for the baby.
Okay. She also talked about the fact that she started spotting when she was about 2 months.
Yeah.
Again, what should the concerns be?
Yeah, that should be a major concern.
Okay.
Because no pregnant woman is supposed to see blood.
Throughout the period?
Throughout the period, until after delivery, when a placenta has come out. And so, if you see spotting, particularly in the first 3 months of pregnancy, that's the first trimester,
yeah.
It means the pregnancy is threatening to miscarry.
Okay.
You know, it's threatening. So we call it threatened miscarriage. Like I threaten you now that, what should I threaten you?
You give me money.
I won't threaten. So it's threatening to miscarry, meaning that if you don't do anything, the pregnancy would miscarry. Some of that is due to a problem with the formation of the baby.
Okay.
So majority would also have to do with a low level of progesterone, which is the hormone that the placenta is supposed to produce. Sometimes it so happens that you're not producing enough, and that is what is causing the threat, in which case all we need to do is support the woman with some additional progesterone, and then the spotting stops, and and then of course ensure she rests, bed rest, don't lift heavy things, don't have intimacy, and then medications, supplements. If there is cramping, we also take care of that. Occasionally, we have to admit for a couple of days till it stabilizes, and that's it. If the baby is formed well with these interventions, the pregnancy should stay and continue.
Okay.
If the baby has some major problem with its formation, then no matter what you do, it's going to miscarry.
Okay.
Which is okay, because like that kind of miscarriage we consider is a natural quality control mechanism, so that it doesn't stay to become a baby that would develop into bad abnormality, heart conditions that are not compatible with life.
Because that can happen.
That can happen, yeah.
Great.
So nature will try to stop those babies in the early stages.
Great.
Yeah.
Serwah also mentioned fibroid in the cervix during the pregnancy.
Yeah.
How about that also?
Yeah. So fibroids are very common in our women. If you count 10 women now, chances are that 7 of them have fibroids. You know, so fibroids are common in we, the black women, and it is genetic.
Okay.
So no matter where we are, black people have more fibroids. In the US, the black Americans have more fibroids than the whites.
Okay.
So it is just one of our genetic thing by way of being black. And so if the woman is having fibroids, and majority of them typically wouldn't even know they have fibroids. A woman would have gone through her whole life, had her babies, had everything, attained menopause. If she's dead and we are doing post-mortem where we examine all the organs, and we see, oh, she even had fibroids.
Oh, wow.
It's not a problem. But if it begins to cause problems, that is when we have to intervene by dealing with it through surgery. If the fibroid is causing problems, even not enough to require intervention, it has to be removed. Now, there is no amount of medication, herbal medication you would drink that can melt the fibroid. Unfortunately, a lot of our people are falling for that. They give you gallons of herbal medications to drink. You drink and drink and drink and drink. Then they say,
Some
yours...
actually say you can deliver it like a baby.
You do all that. They say, no, yours is not shrinking or is not delivering. So now go to hospital. By which time you've taken loads of herbals that we are concerned will have effects on your kidneys. You know. So if the woman has fibroids and she's already pregnant, no problem. So long as pregnancy is stable, we just monitor it. The fibroids will cause a few things to the pregnancy. It might cause some bleeding at some point, especially in the first trimester, if the fibroid is closer to where the implantation is. Sometimes the fibroid causes a lot of pain to the pregnant woman because the central part of the fibroid doesn't get enough blood flow. And so it undergoes something we call degeneration, and that causes pain. So the pregnant woman who has fibroids goes through a lot of pain in the course of the pregnancy. Occasionally, the pain is so severe we have to admit and give infusion and strong pain medications.
Wow.
But if you have fibroids and you're pregnant, one of the cautions we give is ensure to drink a lot of water. That helps. That helps. And so the pregnancy can coexist with the fibroids until term. Then we assess the location of the fibroid. Is it going to be in the way of the baby coming out or not? If it will not, then you can still go ahead and have your vaginal delivery.
Okay.
If we assess and think that this may be in the way, it means the labor may get complicated. In that case, we plan to do a cesarean section.
Bring out your
Some
baby
of the
safely.
time, yes, take out the baby safely. And sometimes we also take the opportunity, if the doctor feels adequately skilled enough, to remove the fibroids at the same
Take it
time.
out as
Not
well.
everybody is able to do that, and it's not a problem if your doctor doesn't want to do it. Some of us do it, some do not do it.
Great. Thank you for the education, Doc. Serwaa, so how did the pregnancy progress?
Well, I mean, I think doctors mentioned some of the complications, a few of them that
You had?
experienced, you know. So, I mean, I've talked about the bleeding, the iron deficiency, those pains and cramps, but like he said, I had a lot of rest. So I wasn't doing anything, anything tedious. And then we just monitored, and 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 20 weeks, and then I got to 38 weeks.
Okay, so along the journey, after the beginning and the few challenges you have, the anemia was there throughout?
Yes, throughout.
So, and it was being managed?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't too much of an issue?
It was a concern, but
then
I mean,
it was being
managed,
managed, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Apart from that, you also rested?
Yes.
So you didn't really have a difficult pregnancy, if we should say?
No, in fact, my from 6 to about 8 months,
You were good?
I was dancing about,
Okay.
and yeah, I felt really, that was the best time of the pregnancy for me.
Okay, nice.
Yes, that was my best time. Until then, towards 8th to 9th month, then, you know, it becomes heavier, you're more tired, you can't sleep. So that was a little bit stressful.
Okay, but that's pretty normal with pregnancy,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so you traveled 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then we got to 38 weeks. Well, come tell the story from when you were 38 weeks.
Right.
But then stay, because you have to hear the rest of the story and all the interventions that came Serwaa's way, but still lost baby. Thanks to Ernest Chemist Limited, to Ship Healthcare Specialist Medical Center, also to Labadi Beach Hotel, and indeed Deco Zone, the Better Merchandise, Our Louis, and Lunch Avenue. So,
Hi.
38 weeks, labor, delivery, and going home without your baby.
Tough one.
Say again?
Tough one.
Yes, tell us about it.
So it was February 10th, African Cup of Nations night. A few days before, you know, you start getting contractions, and they monitor which one is the Braxton, what they call it, Braxton Hicks. So the Saturday, we went to see the doctor, and then they gave me castor oil. So I think because the contractions was, you know, becoming more frequent, and because they said it was my first delivery, usually it can go on for a while. So I took the castor,
contractions, you mean?
Yes, and the whole process, yeah.
Okay.
So I took the castor oil. For those who know me, I'm a sports fan. I love sports. So with all the pains and everything else, I still watched the African
Cup of Nations.
Yes, I did. And that was a Sunday. So that was Saturday through to Sunday. And so we were not seeing much progress. So the morning before the game, the doctor reviewed, and then they gave me Cytotec to help. They gave me Cytotec to help with the dilation, because then the labor process had started. So in the night after the match, I was very uncomfortable. I was struggling, the contractions and things. So we went to the hospital again in the evening.
So when you went to the hospital when the contractions started, they gave you some medication to aid with the contractions, and then you went home?
Yes, and then I came back. Because we lived, my husband's a doctor.
Oh,
so we lived around in the area of the hospital. So home was like just a few
That's
meters
understandable.
away. Yes. So I came back in the evening because he was working as well. I mean, he had also done CS. He's done surgeries on other pregnant women between the Saturday and Sunday. So he come and then he check up on me. But then I was being seen by another colleague, obviously. So the Sunday night, we went and I was admitted. So the doctor came, they did a scan to check, and baby's heartbeat was there. I could see the baby's heartbeat, and it was like, okay, it's a first pregnancy, so the process is being delayed, so let's monitor. Throughout the night, it was terrible. I was vomiting, with contractions. We did not sleep. My husband was with me, so they'll come, they'll check, that thing that they put on the ear and put on your stomach to listen to the babies. The nurses will do that, and then they'll draw some charts. So then Monday morning, 11th February, came. So all throughout the night was awful. So Monday morning, I was waiting. So eventually they took me to the delivery room.
So this has been like almost 3 days? Or it started from Sunday? Or Saturday night?
Yes, it started like
Saturday night.
Yes, with the castor oil, with the Cytotec, through to Monday.
Through to Sunday, and then into Monday
morning.
Wow.
So Monday morning, I was still there. They will, that thing where they will come and put their hand.
But were you dilating?
Yeah, but then it was, they'll
very
come
slow.
Here, very slow.
Oh.
And it's very traumatic. It's like, because then they'll come, the representative, they'll come and put their hand in and say how far you've gone, up until later on where they could see baby's head in my cervix. And all of these, you have children. You're having the contractions, like your stomach is, you know how delivery contractions are. They need to come down. Then, my dear. And then, so the to and fro, eventually the decision was made. I mean, at that time, between the Sunday night and the Monday, I'm not sure my brain, I can actually talk about how I was feeling or not feeling or what I was going through, You're just waiting for it to end,
Wow.
You just want your baby out.
Were you being given pain medications along the line, or you don't know?
I mean, what pain medication
can they give you?
They don't give no pain medication. It's just the contraction for the cervix to dilate, and and it's where your husband works, so you have to grin and bear it. And I think that is.
You had to do what?
Like grin and bear it. I had to control myself. My demeanor. I can't.
And what was your husband saying in all of this? What was he?
He was just going and coming, trying to calm me down, talk to me, and reassure me. He was there.
Wow.
You only count on the people managing the situation.
No.
At that time, you can't do much really. So I endured all of that until eventually, I think it was past 9:10 a.m. they took me to the theater and then did the CS. It was a spinal, you know, the one they numb your leg. So I was awake in the beginning, then I didn't see anything again. So I don't know what happened after I woke up the Monday afternoon around 3 or 4 a.m. I was beginning to come out, waiting to obviously
receive your baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, hold it there. Doc.
Yeah.
First, castor oil for a woman who has just started feeling contractions here and there. What does it do?
So in her particular case, I'm not really sure why the castor oil was given. But if they gave the, you know, she mentioned cytotec.
Yes.
That we use to stimulate labor.
Yes.
So if she was having plenty of the Braxton Hicks is a contraction the pregnant woman gets in the 3rd trimester, but it's not painful.
Okay.
But for them to give the cytotec, it means they found there's a reason to induce the labor now.
Okay.
Sometimes as a result of something wrong with the amount of fluid around the baby, or for one reason or the other, we need to have her deliver. She's past 37 weeks, baby is okay, mother is okay, we have no cause to want to go on again, then let's deliver. That is one of the reasons why we induce the labor.
Okay.
I'm not sure what was a particular reason in her case.
For the castor oil.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, she said, I mean, when all that was going on, they told her that because it's your first time, some of these things happen. Is that the case, that usually in first pregnancies you can have delayed or prolonged labor?
Yes. For the first delivery, the labor might be a bit slower for the uterus that hasn't experienced the labor and delivery before. Subsequent deliveries, yes, it goes a bit faster. For the first time mother, even when you dilate up to the full 10 centimeters, the cervix has opened up, it can take an additional up to 2 hours for the baby to come.
Oh, wow.
Just because it's the first time. Subsequently, once you've had one before, then subsequently it doesn't take up to 1 hour or maximum, then the baby has come. So things are usually a bit slower for the first time mother, usually.
Okay. Well, I can relate, but I didn't understand that this could be the reason, because my first pregnancy, I was in labor for 3 days as well. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon before I delivered the baby. It's just that in my case, I could walk. You know, you were feeling the pains, you get your back
pain
rubbed, and then you go and come and sit down. And I remember very well, my sister would call, you know, she was in France, she would call, these things don't happen these days. Can you people just take her to the theater already and bring out the baby 3 days? She was ranting. My husband was very confused. His brother was around and you could hear them praying. They say somebody's daughter, somebody's daughter. But I think the doctors were also very calm because they probably just realized that there was no problem. But I didn't understand that it was because maybe it was your first child. And I think that explanation works. I also noted here vomiting. She was, while she was in pain, she started vomiting and all that. Is that a good thing?
It happens sometimes, without any major concern. But of course, if the woman has high blood pressure in pregnancy and then she's vomiting in labor, then it raises the bar of alertness. It could be telling us that she's about to have a convulsion. But in the absence of that, sometimes it could be due to the cytotec, whatever we use to induce the labor. Sometimes just the stress of the labor. So,
was she wheeled to the theater a bit too late? Because I saw it got you a little bit.
So listening to her, she was in labor, she was in pain. That means she was having she described it, active contraction. The uterus rises, then it settles. We define it as active if you're getting up to 3 of those every 10 minutes. And she seemed to be having a good deal of contractions. The pain control was not very good in her case. You know. Well, this is nearly, how many? 16 years ago. So Hopefully things are better now.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so that could have been better. But I suspect that by the time she was being wheeled to theater, the reason was because of the slow progress of the labor and the fact that the baby was getting weak, which is, we call it fetal distress. The baby was in some form of distress. So that was what necessitated the emergency cesarean. And now it sounds that that fibroid in the lower part of the womb was now in the way, because she said he could see the baby's head, but it wasn't coming
out. Okay. Serwaa, you woke up expecting to see baby.
I don't know exactly what they gave me, but I think they just made me sleep. And then when you're waking up, you feel like you're in a vacuum. So I, in a hazy way, I saw my husband, and then I just said, congratulations.
Oh.
You're a daddy. Then, when you're pregnant, your stomach itches. So, and traditionally, they'll tell you that when your baby had a lot of hair. So I was asking, I hope that those she came with a lot of hairs. But, I was so
drowsy
that he was apparently crying. I didn't even see. He was so, he had cried his heart out. And so we had a friend who was by my feet.
Wow.
And I saw him and I smiled. And then he said, be strong. Of course, he didn't know. He just said, be strong, and they just wheeled him like a theater trolley out of the room. I don't think I even heard him, So, I was like, my husband was, like being husband, rubbing me, and, so then I asked,
hey,
where is the baby?
I dread how it was broken to you.
Then he said, baby is there. And then I was looking, baby is not there. Like, no, baby is not there.
By this time you were fully awake?
It took a while, So, of course, so my auntie, who's my mom, she's cared for me all my life. I looked at her and I said, where's baby? And for us, we named our child before she was born. So we had given her Jada, which we spelled Jaeda. So I said, Ajwa Jada, Owen. The mind is so, incubator. So when I heard incubator, then I'm like, this place, I know there is no proper incubator
here.
And why would it's not preterm. I'm a vet by profession, so at least I know my science. So why would they put my baby in the incubator? But then I was just thinking, it was I know, but it was a delayed labor and all that. It's like, oh, my biology, everything else that I know in my science was kicking in. So I'm trying to quickly process this, like milliseconds. Find reasons why the baby is in the incubator and all. So then I looked at my husband, and when you know somebody so well. So I just held his neck collar from one side, it was opened, to the other. And I pulled him with all my strength to my mouth. And I said, tell me, did the baby die?
Oh.
And then he started crying.
No.
And like, you just go numb. Like, it's an out-of-body experience. You can't explain.
Imagine.
Like, you cannot explain. So I just put my hand over him and I asked, so where is she? And then she said, she's in the cold room.
What?
And I said, okay. I was so tired, like I was too tired, because I've gone through all of that. So I just closed my eyes and I prayed and I just asked God to give me strength to survive. Because my tongue was dark. My tongue was black. I don't know. My auntie always asks why. And, you know, I can't feel my legs. My husband is broken. So, and I was just playing everything. It's like a movie. You know, you just play everything in your head and what has gone wrong, whether it is real or it's not real. You don't even know where you are. Like, you don't know whether you are on earth or somewhere else.
Cold room.
Yeah.
So, how did you go home?
So that day, I asked them to bring the baby for me to see her. And they said I'm too weak.
To see the baby?
To see the baby. And you know, in the ward, it was an open ward. And of course, there are other mothers. My husband had operated on another woman who also delivered a baby girl. And we were in the same ward. And I didn't have my baby. And the lady would go out, go and cry, and come back in. Like she was feeling
your pain.
My pain. Like they literally had to, if you didn't know what had gone on, you would think that she's the one that delivered and lost her child. And her baby was there. So I told them I wanted to see my baby. And they said I was weak. And you just lie down and you hear the baby cry. And your stomach is still big. So you feel like, okay, maybe
you would deliver another one.
You haven't delivered yet. And so maybe you would deliver, maybe your baby will come. I'm telling you, our brain, look, the thing that your brain can, you know, so then I'll put my hand on my stomach and sometimes, like, I could feel baby movement. In my, like, I could kind of feel that baby is still inside me. So the following morning, I still asked them, can I see the baby? They brought every possible head of whatever in Takwa to come and talk me out of seeing my baby.
How so?
Like, so for me, that is what broke me.
So you never saw the baby?
There was no, I told my husband that if they don't bring the baby and I get out of that bed, I am suing him and everybody else, that I'm going to court because I have to see my baby dead or alive. So after a lot of deliberations and elders and older people and everything else, my husband told them that I said I want to see my baby. I'm shaking, sorry.
It's fine, Serwaa.
So they have to let me see the baby. And that's my wish. He can't do anything about it. So they wrapped baby and then they brought her and I smiled. At that moment, I smiled. She had hair. And I mean, her mouth had opened just a little bit, you know, maybe, I don't know whether she's struggling. I don't know if infants do have goose, because then kind of feel that feeling where, you know, you've let a human being down. I was so apologetic, you know, felt sorry that
you didn't protect her well enough.
Let her down.
Oh my God.
But I was comfortable that at least I saw her. They didn't let me hold her. I wanted to put her in my arm, but they didn't allow me to. So they Then they took her away. I didn't. That's the end. I don't know where they buried her. Till date.
So you went home with a surgical wound?
Yeah. Then your boobs are swelling, and you go through the pain. The pain. I just hide in my blanket and I'll cry and cry and cry. My mother-in-law, she's a retired nurse. I mean, she just sit and just watch me cry. You just wish that you wake out of, like you wake up and it's a dream, but
It was like it was an effort in futility. Everything you had gone through.
Yeah. By the time I go home, they had packed everything. Because we had set up the cot.
The nursery, everything.
Yeah, they had
cleared everything.
I think they brought people in. I don't know what they did. The house was everything. They had packed them, like as if there was no pregnant. They had packed. I'm telling you, we had. How they did that? I think I want them to answer that. They had packed everything, so it was just the room with our bed. Nothing big.
Starting afresh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about this, Serwah. 16 years on, I see that it still cuts deep, and it still feels like it's just happening.
It's painful.
I know.
It gets better with time, but the pain
is there.
You don't want to wish that on your enemy,
But thank God you have 2 amazing children now.
Yeah.
Mommy Serwah 1 and Mommy Serwah 2.
I know, right?
How are they doing?
It's, after that episode, we went to see gynecologists and.
Did you see a psychologist?
Psychologist, no, but I mean, I had a lot of support. My family, my friends, my congregation, people were there for me.
To support you.
Yes.
Thank God.
Professional psychologist?
No.
Would I recommend it? Yes.
Okay.
Because the comments that people make, if you are not strong, can break you. Do you know people, like you hear comments like, oh, like
you don't know what it is. You just want to talk.
People don't know. And somebody would see my husband and ask him, but where were you? He was there, but what can he do?
What can he do?
So if you ask him where he was, like that, so what do you think he should have done? Should he have willed me to the theater to cut me open?
Himself?
He can't do that.
Of course not.
And am I the first person that's lost my child? No. Has it happened to other people? Yes. Is there human error?
There is.
Obviously. So I would recommend that there's a proper setup where they can talk to people, tell them what to expect, how to deal with negative comments, and had I known, should have done this. Some people say, oh, your husband works in the hospital, you shouldn't have delivered there. Where should I go and deliver?
Yeah.
He works there.
Thank God you've gone past all that. And again, I mentioned, thank God you have 2 amazing children now.
You desire them. The best sound is when Jada. So wait, Jada. She's also Jada, spelled Jaida.
Oh.
And she was born in 2010.
Okay.
So I had to do my myectomy after that, and then that was in September 2008. Then 2009, I got pregnant with Jada. And the first few nights, I would just make sure she's breathing. I literally put my hand on her nose.
To feel the
To
breath.
feel the breath. I mean, my brain, you know, because I've seen a dead baby.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be sure that this one is alive, you know, and that sound, that baby cry sound, for me is the
best.
sweetest sound ever. When Jada cried, I can still
Hear that
God
cry.
know, yes, I know the sound of that cry every time in my ears.
Doc, we've heard very amazing stories on 40 weeks and more.
Yeah.
And I am sure for Serwah's case, we've talked about a lot of, you know, the causes, prevention of some of these things and all. But I just want you to use few minutes to speak on this maternal mental health thing. We had a show when, is it Na who mentioned that when a clock ticks, she still hears the sound. And so in her home, she has clocks, but she doesn't make them tick, you know. We spoke to Whitney. She also has something that consistently reminds her of some of these things. And now, you know, Serwah, she just can't let go of the cry of a baby because she said, I have experienced a dead baby.
Yeah.
So when I hear my baby cry, it means that these things have very serious mental health issues on mothers.
Yeah. They do. They do. You know.
Doc, sorry, okay. I see that
Yeah.
you sank a bit.
Yeah, you know, particularly, did you hear her say the husband is a doctor?
Yes, in the
worked
hospital.
in the same hospital. So I can imagine how helpless
He
he would have
was.
felt, you know. Yes, ethically, you couldn't operate your own wife. And so you lost your baby. Unfortunate, yeah, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate, yeah. And when these bad outcomes happen, the impact on the patient, on the woman, and for that matter, the husband, the father of the baby, they need to be managed properly, you see. And so we need a deliberate effort to make psychological care available. And unfortunately, that was not available to her readily, and she probably also did not know to go out and seek that, because that is very critical, especially in that moment. That professional help is going to help you to grieve properly. And it's 16 years, and she had goose, she was shaking, she was tearing, talking about it. So that means something has been missing, and we still have to go back and correct that for her. Because otherwise it's going to be a lifelong memory of painful loss. When a woman loses the baby, unfortunately she went through cesarean, so assuming she even had other deliveries normally after that, each time she saw that scar or she touched it, it would remind her of the pain.
Definitely.
Yes. Initially she had a pain which would have come with a lot of distress, but there's no reward. She said she went home, the breast was engorged, you know, but there was no baby. She was even
You were nursing
the scar, you know, seeing all the after bleed, and unfortunately the breast was engorged, probably hurtful without a baby, you know. All that would just make the psychological experience a lot more terrible. Coupled with the fact that after every normal delivery, the pregnancy, the sudden change in a woman's hormonal level will tip her into depression, you know. And in Ghana, we've seen that 1 out of every 2 women who delivered had depression after delivery, what we call postpartum depression. And this regardless of the birth outcome, okay, regardless. And some of the reasons why they have these are difficulties they experience during a pregnancy, difficulties with their marital relationship, financial, socioeconomic difficulty, as well as some traumatic experiences during the labor and delivery. Unfortunately, we don't have the system in place yet which screens this woman right after birth to see who among our post-delivery women needs to see the clinical psychologist before they go home. And that risk can persist for the whole 1 year following delivery. Thankfully now, the Ghana Health Service is going to come up with a routine screening intervention in place so that all pregnant women get screened, even during the course of the pregnancy, then after delivery, so that those who have peculiarities that will require clinical intervention promptly are referred to the clinical psychologist. Because what happens is, if that doesn't get taken care of, they live with that mental torture for the rest of their lives. It affects their relationship, bonding with the children. It affects breastfeeding. And it gets to a point that the woman is so depressed, severe depression, and they become suicidal. Some research we did in Ghana found that 13% of all women who are delivered, by 2 weeks after delivery, they had so much of severe depression, they were contemplating suicide. Yeah, that's 13 out of 100 women. Okay, and globally we know that 20% of women who die after delivery is from suicide. And suicide is only a sign of severe depression. Okay, and so maternal mental health is a big deal that we need to focus on as a nation. Thankfully, she had a great deal of support from her immediate family, from her circle of friends, church, you know, but not everybody gets that. Some families would think that, what have you delivered and you are all so saucy, not allowing us, not knowing what you're going through, and that just makes things worse. So family, when somebody delivers, they need a lot of support, because there's a lot of hormonal problems going on inside that person, which will make her a bit low in mood. Sometimes she's delivered, you think she should be happy, bubbly, but she sits and she's crying. It is not her, it's the hormonal changes that are affecting her mental health. These are things that we are supposed to take extremely seriously. It means they need support. Unfortunately, a lot of people will rush these women to traditionalists or prayer camps. And you and I know how they deal with people with mental problems who end up in the prayer camps. They chain them, they dehumanize them. But what they need is mental health professional care. So when somebody has delivered and they show any of these signs, let us bring them promptly to hospital. And we find that in-laws are particularly powerful in these situations. So the in-laws need to know that when my daughter-in-law has delivered and she's showing these signs of not being happy, low mood, crying, or extremely irritable, there's something probably going wrong. Let us bring her back to the mental health to get professional help.
It's been a journey. Serwaa, again, I am very grateful to God for you, because thereafter you have Jada and Jason, and you should see them grown and very amazing children. Do they know about the story of their sister?
Oh yes,
they do.
Yes, yeah, we communicate. Yes, we explain to them. They understand. At least it helps them also appreciate how we value them.
Great.
Yes, so yeah, they do. And Jada is 14 now. Jason is 10.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's nice. It's just that I'm a menopausal mother. I mean,
if you didn't say that, then we're going to ask you, when is the next one coming?
Oh, dog.
She knows we walk about with the fun.
Oh good. I'm so happy. It always starts like this, but by the time we're ending, we thank God that there's always a beautiful part to the conversation. Your final words, Serwaa.
What I want to say is that if you're pregnant, please see the right consultants. If eventually the diagnosis or what might have caused it was the fibroid in my cervix that actually blocked her from coming out. So maybe if there was a gynecologist involved earlier then, that might have helped. Sometimes bad things happen. It can happen to anyone. If it happens to you, take heart. Like you said, now we have other 2 children, you know. And I like that Doc is also saying that now the Ghana Health Service is bringing in the mental health, because it's also very important that they get, or we get the support to deal with it. And also negative comments. If you are not there, please don't make comments. Say things that you don't know. If you can't build, don't tear down.
And if you don't have anything to say, just keep quiet. Yeah. Thank you, Serwah. Doc, we've had 13 weeks of amazing stories, education, information, awareness, and lessons on 40 weeks and more. And I know that we have had very good feedback. You want to touch of some of them, and then you wrap up season 1 of 40 weeks and more.
Yep. And I hope season 2 begins tomorrow.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I mean, because we've had amazing feedback. You have no idea the number of people who reached out to say how helpful this has been.
Yeah.
They could relate to some of the scenarios, some of the stories, and others were sitting on problems they didn't know were potentially, and then they reached out, they sought help, and so it's been good and particularly fulfilling, hearing those comments. So kudos to you, kudos to our sponsors, kudos to Shape.
Indeed.
Yes. And then I want to, in a particular reference to Serwah's story, say that this mother lost her baby and was denied the opportunity to hold the baby. And that just adds sorrow to the already bad situation. I mean, some healthcare workers are of the view that if the woman has just delivered or just went through cesarean section and there's a bad outcome, you don't break the news to them immediately. But that is not that is not correct. Rather, it helps them to grieve properly. It helps them to grieve properly. If she's had a chance to hold the baby, her grieving would have been better than she experienced. So there is no scientific reason why we should deny the woman who's lost the baby access to the baby. Let her see the baby. Let her hold the baby. Elsewhere, they allow you to christen the baby. And as a matter of fact, we are supposed to allow such parents to decide how the baby should be buried. Give them the option. Do you want us to have the baby passed on to the state for the usual mass burial? Or do you want your baby passed on to you to organize your own private burial? It means different experiences to different couples. And so let's underscore that. That said, it's been a huge pleasure on your show, and you have done great for our people out there, particularly our women, talking through infertility, the options available, whatever we can do to improve the pregnancy journey and experience. And I suppose we have emphasized enough the importance of preconception care and taking antenatal care seriously.
Right.
Sometimes things like miscarriages or stillbirths could be prevented if we picked some of the red flags earlier on in the antenatal period during regular antenatal visits. Thank you for having me, and thank you all for being our wonderful guests on 40 Weeks and More.
Thank you very much, Doc. It's been a journey on our first season, and the feedback particularly I got is people saying that they realize they are not alone. Now they're more empowered to step out to let healthcare officials know that this is the challenge I have, and they're beginning to seek help, because these stories have been powerful, and it just makes you realize that why am I sitting and suffering when I can actually reach out, and get help and be better, especially so as a pregnant woman, or if you're planning to get pregnant as an individual, a woman, or even as a couple. There's a lot of help out there. Reach out to Shape Healthcare Specialist Medical Center. You go and see Dr. Sefogah, and then you will have all the care you need. This has also been made possible by Ernest Chemist Limited and by Labadi Beach Hotel. Also to Aruluri, to Dobeta Merchandise, to Deco Zone and Lunch Avenue. You all have held us down these 13 weeks of 40 weeks and more. We hope that you will come on board again. Season 2, 3, 4, 5, and infinity. And the crew who has worked behind the scenes to ensure that this production has been what it is. Salute to you. Thank you. You are the same crew we'll keep working with over and over again. We appreciate all of you. Look out for season 2 of 40 Weeks and More. My name is Edem Knight-Tay. It's been a pleasure bringing this your way. Bye.